Okay, next we have History of Poland, the Slavs, the legendary kings, and the rise of a nation. By History Mapped Out, 10 months ago. What do I know about Poland? I know more of like the recent stuff, right? Over the last 300 years. Though obviously beyond that, I just know that it was wiped off the map several times, conquered by Austria, Prussia, Russia, right? So it's just one of those countries that like its existence has been threatened so many times and literally wiped off for like some time, a very long time, until it came back again and again. So I have a lot of respect for that. Just never give up kind of spirit, right? So yeah, let's check out the video.
During the migration period and up to the end of the 7th century, the Slavs settled across Eastern Europe, occupying vast territories. In particular, they inhabited the lands in the basins of the Vistula and Oder rivers. The Slavic tribes that remained in these lands gradually united, forming a single people who later became known as the Poles. The Polish nation was formed on the basis of 6 major Slavic tribes, as well as about 24 smaller ones. This was a period in history when they did not yet leave written records about themselves, so much of what we know about them comes from legends. Among such legends was the popular story about the founder of the Polish nation, Lech. He had younger brothers, Czech and Rus, who founded the neighboring Slavic nations, the Czechs and the Ruthenians. The name of Lech is also linked to the legend of the origin of the Polish coat of arms. When he set out in search of a homeland for his people, he encountered a white eagle along the way. On that spot, Lech founded the city of Gniezno, and the white eagle remains on Poland's coat of arms to this day.
That's cool.
The name Lech is also derived from Lech in legends, serving as another term for Poles. Nevertheless, most researchers now believe that this word originated from the Lendians tribe, one of whose names was Lechites. They lived near the border with the Ruthenians, and the name of this tribe eventually extended to the entire Polish people. Did you know you can become a legend yourself with today's sponsor, Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus? Charge
I'll pass the sponsor,
out Tacticus for sponsoring, and we're back to the video.
Okay.
The legendary Polish rulers also include Prince Krak, who is said in legends to have founded the city of Krakow, and Prince Vizimir, who led the Slavs to the shores of the Baltic Sea and defeated the Danes. The origins of the historically real Piast dynasty are also
when Warsaw comes about.
shrouded in legend. Its founder, Piast, was a simple peasant, but very generous. The legend tells how he once gave away his last food to feed monks. As a reward for such generosity, he, or his son, according to another version, was granted princely authority, and their descendants were given the divine right to unite the Polish tribes. For a long time, the most powerful among these tribes were the Vistulans, who lived in the upper reaches of the Vistula River. The famous Greek missionary Methodius mentioned them when visiting Bohemia. He lamented that they, as pagans, attacked Christian lands, and that he had urged the Vistulan prince to adopt Christianity. Nonetheless, in a prolonged struggle with neighboring tribes, the Vistulanians were weakened, and by the late 9th century they were subjugated by the rulers of Great Moravia. While the Vistulan tribes along the Vistula River paid tribute to Great Moravia, the Polans tribe was developing along the Oder River. Their name is derived from the word pol, which is translated as field. Since this tribe would lay the foundation of statehood, the name of the Polish people and the country of Poland would originate from them. The Polans were ruled by the Piast dynasty. The early rulers of the dynasty were semi-legendary, and historians cannot confirm or deny their existence. It is known that they brought neighboring small tribes under their rule and significantly strengthened the power of the Polans. The first historically confirmed ruler of the Polans was Duke Mieszko I. He was destined to become the founder of the Polish state. Due to the scarcity of sources, the exact year when Mieszko I began his rule is unknown. The approximate date is considered to be 960. The first confirmed event of his reign was his adoption of Christianity in 966. Mieszko also carried out a military reform. He established his own princely retinue of 3,000 warriors, well equipped with weapons and armor. Such a professional army allowed him not only to subjugate the remaining Polish tribes, but also to defend against invaders from neighboring countries. At the beginning of his
small,
reign,
but I guess it was big at the
Mieszko
time.
I subjugated the neighboring Masovian tribe. In 967, he launched his first campaign to the shores of the Baltic Sea, and by 972, he had fully subdued the Pomeranian tribes. From this tribe originates the Polish ethnic group known as the Kashubians, who currently live in northwestern Poland. Though, even at that time, the Germans laid claim to these lands. The Saxon Margrave Odo marched against the Poland Duke. Their armies clashed at Cydynia, and in a hard-fought battle, Duke Mieszko managed to repel the German invasion. Realizing that he could not resist the Germans for long, Mieszko I was forced to make peace with Emperor Otto I and begin paying tribute. The peace with the Germans allowed Mieszko to focus on further uniting the Polish tribes. A significant challenge was that the tribes in the south were paying tribute to neighboring Bohemia, a remnant of the once powerful Great Moravia. As a result, Mieszko had to engage in a prolonged war with the Bohemians, in which he ultimately emerged victorious. By 985, Mieszko I had subjugated Silesia, and by 990, he had taken control of the lands of the Vistulans. In doing so, the Poland Duke Mieszko I united all the Polish tribes, becoming the founder and first ruler of Poland. The lands inhabited by the Polans, which formed the core of the Polish state, named after them, came to be known as Greater Poland. In contrast, the lands of the Vistulans, where the Polish state expanded last and where the influence of the Polans was weakest, would later be called Lesser Poland.
It's not a nice way to name things, but okay.
After the death of Mieszko I, power passed to Bolesław I the Brave. Even during his father's reign, Bolesław commanded his armies and participated in campaigns, where he distinguished himself with his bravery, earning his moniker. To prevent the disintegration of the young state, his first action was to expel his stepmother and her sons, who claimed separate holdings within Poland. Afterwards, Bolesław focused on strengthening his...
At least he was nice, I mean. I feel like at the time, most of this kind of situation would be just kill them all, right? Like, expelling them was never the first order of things, you know? It's always just kill all of the one that have some kind of claim to the throne. So I'm the only one with a claim to the throne. And eventually my son or something.
State. First and foremost, Bolesław secured the independence of the Polish Church by establishing the Archbishopric of Gniezno, making it independent from the German and Bohemian churches. Later, during negotiations with Emperor Otto III in Gniezno, Bolesław achieved an agreement that Poland would no longer pay tribute to the Germans.
Really?
Following this, Bolesław began minting his own coins, solidifying Poland's independence.
I'm surprised they just
When
accepted
civil
like
war
that.
broke out in neighboring Bohemia, Bolesław the Brave sought to take advantage of the situation to expand his territories. In 1003, he even captured Prague and proclaimed himself Duke of Bohemia. Nonetheless, lacking the strength to maintain control over Bohemia, Bolesław decided to place his own candidate on the Bohemian throne. This struggle for the region brought Polish and German interests into conflict once again.
That's what I thought.
The war dragged on for years, with both sides launching multiple campaigns against each other, but neither managed to secure the contested territories. Finally, in 1018, the two sides signed the Peace of Bautzen, under which Bohemia fell under the authority of the emperors, while Poland gained the Lusatian lands. After concluding the war with the Germans, Bolesław turned his attention eastward. At that time, a succession war had erupted in Kievan Rus among the sons of Volodymyr the Great. Bolesław decided to support his son-in-law, Prince Sviatopolk, and in 1018 launched a campaign against Kiev. On his way, he defeated the Rus forces in the Battle of the Bug River. And
what I can say is always with like rulers at this time, it's like, can't you just take care of your country? Like, do you really have to get involved in the affairs of everybody else? Seriously.
Then easily captured Kiev, installing Sviatopolk as its ruler. Another symbol of Poland is tied to Kiev. According to legend, as Bolesław the Brave entered the city, he struck his sword against its gates, leaving a notch. The sword, now nicked, became known as Shucherbiec, jagged sword. In the future, this sword would become a symbol of Polish statehood and was used during the coronation of all Polish kings. On his return journey, Bolesław annexed the Red Ruthenia to Poland. This was the sole lasting achievement of the campaign, as Świętopolk failed to maintain his grip on power in Rus for long.
Not surprised, I hadn't heard his name.
The final achievement of Bolesław the Brave was receiving a royal crown from Rome. His coronation took
From
place
Rome.
shortly before his death, marking Poland's transformation into a kingdom. Despite the elevated authority of a king, this did not protect the realm from internal strife.
I was gonna say, like, you know, we all know how it works, right? Usually the successors tend to be terrible. So far, you know, the streak is at one good successor to the previous king. Let's see if they can make it two, but I guess not. I guess not. During ancient and medieval era, easy to expand and have huge land because less centralized neighbors, yeah.
Following Bolesław's death. As a result of this war, Poland was divided, and
Well,
neighboring countries supporting one side
the
or the
streak stopped
other
at one.
began to seize Polish lands. The interference of Bohemia was especially damaging for Poland, as the Bohemian Prince Bretislav I not only captured Silesia, but also burned Gniezno. Only the grandson of Bolesław the Brave, Casimir I, was able to reunite Poland, earning the nickname the Restorer. Casimir I spent his youth in exile, but in 1039 he returned to his homeland. He took control of Greater and Lesser Poland and moved the capital from the ruined Gniezno to Krakow, which would remain the Polish capital until the late 14th century. Casimir I then focused on reclaiming all Polish lands. In 1047, he annexed Masovia, and 3 years later he took back Silesia from the Bohemians. His sons continued this policy. King Bolesław II returned the Red Ruthenia to Poland and pursued an active foreign policy, assisting his allies in gaining power in Rus, Bohemia, and Hungary. Domestically, he implemented centralization reforms, which led to a conflict with the Bishop of Krakow, Stanislaus, and his subsequent murder on the king's orders. As a result, a rebellion broke out against the king, forcing Bolesław II to flee the country.
Well, the streak is broken yet again.
That the mutilated body of Bishop Stanislaus was miraculously restored before his burial, and he became the patron saint of Poland. This legend symbolized the resilience of the nation, with the belief that, like the saint's body, the country would recover from any calamity. Brother of Bolesław II, Władysław I Herman, began to rule after his brother's exile. During his reign, problems started to emerge that soon led to a serious crisis in Poland. The Red Ruthenia lands separated from Poland, and the rule of the region was taken over by Rus princes. Władysław faced rebellions both from local rulers and from his own sons. Even more problems arose with the power.
That's why you gotta kill your sons, I mean. Yeah. Well, I guess you need one son. Well, you gotta kill the one that don't seem very loyal.
Voivode of Krakow, Sieciech, who was so influential that he minted his own coins. Through intrigue, he attempted to seize the royal power. All of this put Poland's unity at risk. Eventually, in 1100, Poland was once again divided. Eventually, a divided country longed for reunification, and after 9 years, Prince Bolesław III Rymuth succeeded in reuniting the Polish state. This led to a war with the Germans, as Emperor Henry V, who supported Bolesław III's brother Zbigniew, invaded Poland. At the start of the campaign, Henry's efforts were unsuccessful. Fortresses in Silesia resisted him. Notably, the defenders of Głogów repelled all assaults and kept the Germans out of the city. Eventually, the weakened German army clashed with the Polish forces at Hunsfeld, where Bolesław III decisively defeated the invaders. After his victory, Bolesław III focused on expanding the borders of Poland. Through several campaigns, he conquered the Pomeranian lands by 1130 and even launched an expedition to the island of Rügen, though he was unable to establish lasting control over it. Before his death, King Bolesław III divided the kingdom among his 5 sons,
Oh
with the
boy.
eldest son remaining the king, while the younger brothers were expected to submit to him. As
Why would you even think that's gonna work? I mean, come on.
soon as Bolesław III passed away, his sons quarreled and began fighting among themselves, alternating in their attempts to seize the throne. Eventually, in 1202, after the death of Mieszko III the Old, Poland was definitively divided into
You're so interesting that your nickname is The Old. That's the only thing about you, The Old. Oof.
several principalities.
I mean, wasn't there some French king that was like, one of them was the Fat or something, so, you know. Some rulers in history, they really got done dirty by their nickname. Huh?
The main ones being Greater Poland, Lesser Poland, Silesia, and Masovia. After all, as the legend of Saint Stanislaus suggests, no matter what misfortune befell Poland, it would always recover. During the period of fragmentation, Poland faced numerous problems. In 1226, the Masovian prince Conrad I invited the Teutonic Knights to help fight the Baltic tribe of the
Teutonic
Prussians.
Knights.
Although the Teutonic Knights were actively engaged in this, they also
You're so
began to
badass.
lay claim to Polish lands. After establishing their own state on the shores and
Is this AI art actually, now that I think about it? I don't actually, I mean, maybe I don't know the history, but I don't think the Teutonic Knight would have horned helmet. That doesn't make much sense.
to lay claim to Polish lands. After establishing their own state on the shores of the Baltic Sea, they began to fight against Poland, posing a threat to the existence of the Polish state, until they were finally defeated in the Battle of Grunwald. In 1241, the fragmented Poland was attacked by the Mongols, who had just raided Rus. They burned most of the Polish cities and defeated the Polish-German Allied forces in the Battle of Legnica. Nevertheless, they did not advance further into Poland, as the Poles inflicted significant losses on the Mongols, and the Mongol army did not have enough strength to continue their campaign.
The time of Batukan.
Experiencing so many problems and hardships, the Poles understood that they needed to unite, as a divided Poland could not resist all its enemies. One of the Polish princes, Władysław Łokietka, did not rule a powerful principality, Sandomierz, but he had a strong desire to unite all of Poland. By 1300, he managed to establish control over Lesser Poland and Greater Poland.
You know, like, I'm always, you know what, it is people in history, like, I wonder if they even studied the history of their own country. Like, so many hundreds of years of different people trying to unite the damn country, and sometimes they manage to, and then 50 years later it's all, like, falling apart again. Like, I understand having ambition, wanting to be a ruler, but I wonder if any of these people really believe that they would manage to, like, you know, unite the country, despite the fact that, you know, it failed like so many times before, right?
And then spent another 20 years strengthening his rule there. In 1320, he was crowned as King of Poland, Władysław I. Łokietka tried to seize Pomerania, but faced resistance from the Teutons, who also laid claim to it. His son, Casimir III, became king in 1333 and continued the unification of Poland. First of all, he had to reconcile with the Bohemian King John I of Luxembourg, who also claimed Poland and even assumed the title of its king. The price for John's renunciation of claims to the Polish crown was the Duchy of Silesia. Casimir agreed to recognize these lands as part of Bohemia, and thus they became part of the Holy Roman Empire. After this, the king annexed the Duchy of Sieradz, which belonged to his brother. In his conquests, Casimir focused on the east. The local dynasty in the Kingdom of Rus had just come to an end, and the boyars of Lviv invited Casimir III to rule Galicia. These lands were also claimed by Lithuania and Hungary, and because of this, the Poles had to fight with them for these territories over the next 50 years, alternately forming alliances with Hungary against Lithuania and with Lithuania against Hungary. Eventually, Galicia was secured by Poland, while Volhynia came under Lithuanian control. Casimir III also focused on the conquest of Masovia. He used various methods. He directly conquered several principalities in Kuyavia, exchanged lands for diplomatic aid and military alliances, as was the case with the Dobjin Principality, which he received in exchange for an alliance with the Teutons. He forced local princes to take a vassal oath using political pressure, as with the Plok Principality, or even bought lands and titles from impoverished local rulers, like the Chursk Principality. Thus, the Polish king subdued all of Masovia by 1352. For his achievements, Casimir III was even given the title the Great by his contemporaries. Casimir III also had unsuccessful wars. In 1345, taking advantage of internal Bohemian disputes, he tried to return Silesia to Poland.
Oh my god.
Despite a Polish victory at the Battle of Pogoń, Casimir was unable to secure Silesia, and in 1348, he renounced it for the second time. In addition to his conquests, Casimir III was also notable for important reforms in domestic politics. To strengthen Poland, he built many castles. The Polish have a saying, Casimir III received Poland as wooden and left it as stone.
Okay, maybe not embarrassing.
He improved the country.
I guess no one is perfect, fair enough. Different people that became the same through assimilation. Hungary has minority of Cuman people, for example, yeah. Me trying not to, quote Kingdom Come Deliverance. But I was gonna say we're getting close to the event of that game, and the stuff between Bohemia and Hungary and the Hussite War and all that. Well, the Hussite War is still a little bit away, quite a little bit.
Country's economy by inviting foreign merchants, first and foremost allowing Jews, who were being expelled by other European kings at the time, to settle in Poland. Casimir III had no sons, so the Polish crown was inherited by his nephew, King Louis of Hungary from the Angevin dynasty.
No fight,
In
please.
Poland, his power was limited by the local nobility, the Szlachta. To strengthen his rule and secure inheritance rights for his children, Louis had to grant the nobility privileges, which confirmed certain rights for the aristocracy, particularly access to the governance of the kingdom. The king himself, though, did not take part in ruling Poland personally. He appointed his representatives there and remained in Hungary, where he had more authority. After the death of Louis I, the Polish nobility independently chose his daughter Jadwiga for the throne. In the documents, she was referred to as king rather than queen. 2 years later, Jadwiga was crowned in Poland. The Polish nobility also chose a husband for Jadwiga. At that time, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, which had expanded through the lands of Rus and stretched from the Baltic to the Black Sea, was gaining strength. Such an ally was useful for Poland, and thus the Prince Jogaila was offered to marry Jadwiga. At that time, Jogaila was fighting with his cousin Vytautas for power in Lithuania and was also seeking allies. He was still a pagan and had to convert to Christianity for the marriage. Eventually, the agreement was signed in Krzewo. Jogaila would become the King of Poland under the Christian name Władysław II, but he promised to annex the Lithuanian lands to Poland. This document went down in history as the Union of Krzewo. All of this allowed Poland to transform from a small kingdom in Eastern Europe into a powerful state, within which the Polish people were formed. Thanks to the Union of Krzewo, not only did several dynasties change peacefully in Poland,
When it's sort of like the Pomeranian part toward the top, they're bigger than they were before, yeah?
which was rare in the Middle Ages, but also the foundations were laid for the creation of the Commonwealth, when Polish statehood reached its peak of power, and its territories expanded far to the east. Reach your peak power in Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus today.
Okay, well, pretty interesting. Obviously, I didn't really know anything about this early part of Polish history, I guess I know more recent stuff, 200 years or so. So, pretty interesting. Though obviously, very classic European story, right? I mean, one dude does pretty good, then everybody else fights, everything goes to shit. One does that pretty good, his son fucks it up, and we're back to it again. And repeat that 10,000 times. It's the classic, right? It's the classic. Yeah. The never-ending cycle. Good deal. Ok, ok.